Okay, here's the English version, adapted for a natural-sounding AI voiceover with the requested changes. Title: The Silver Key. Ethan froze. Time, which just a second ago had been hurtling forward like a runaway train of business meetings and financial reports, suddenly collapsed into a dense, ringing point. The air in the hallway smelled of chemical cleanliness and ozone after mopping. Before him, on her knees, clutching a rag in her hand, was a woman in a drab, grey uniform. Her face was pale, with dark circles under her eyes, but that wasn't what captivated him. Around her neck, on a simple dark cord, a small silver key gleamed faintly. That was it, the very one, the key he himself had bought in a souvenir shop at the train station, giving into the pleas of his 3-year-old giggling daughter, the key that became the last tangible memory before his world shattered into 1,000 icy shards. He felt the blood drain from his face. He stepped forward and the woman looked up in alarm, moving a bucket of water out of the way. "Careful! It's wet here. I'll just—" Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. But Ethan wasn't listening. He was staring into her eyes, wide, the colour of a stormy sky, and above her upper lip, a tiny mole, an exact replica of his own. It couldn't be. This couldn't be happening. "What? What's your name?" His voice cracked, turning into a hoarse rustle. "Naomi," she replied, shrinking under his intense, almost frantic gaze. Naomi. Not the Abigail he lost 26 years ago, but that face, those eyes, this key. The cold October dawn stabbed into the city with 1,000 icy needles. Naomi huddled in an old jacket, making her way through the deserted streets of the industrial zone to the glass colossus where she would spend the next 2 hours erasing the traces of someone else's successful life. Each step echoed with aching pain in her feet, but she thought only of Maya, her 10-year-old daughter, her light, her anchor in this raging ocean of despair. For Maya's sake, her future, her chance at an education that Naomi herself would never have, she was ready to crawl on her knees with a rag, even for days on end. She grew up within the walls of the shelter, and the only treasure, the only thread, connecting her to a hazy, almost erased past, was this silver key. The caregivers told her that it had been found around her neck when they found the 3-year-old speechless from terror at the train station. Who was she? Where did she come from? Her memory only held snippets, the rumble of trains, cold stares, and a feeling of perpetual hunger. And this key, someone must have given it to her. Someone somewhere must have loved her once. That thought warmed her during the darkest nights. Then came youth, the illusion of freedom, and Jasper. Bright as a magnesium flash surrounded by admirers, he seemed like a prince from another fairy tale life. He burst into her newly acquired orphan's apartment, filling it with laughter, music, and the smell of expensive cigarettes. Naomi, who had known neither love nor affection, drowned in his attention, not noticing that for him she was just a convenient haven, away from parental control. And then there were 2 lines on the test, and her timid, hopeful news. A problem. Jasper set aside his beer and looked at her as if she had reported a leaky pipe. "Any problem can be solved. I'll find the money. There is a good clinic. They will do everything clean." At that moment his handsome face twisted, and Naomi saw before her not a prince, but a weak, frightened egoist. "It's not a problem," she whispered, feeling a steely determination growing inside her. "This is my child." His escape was swift. He simply packed his things and disappeared, leaving behind a vacuum and ringing silence. And then Maya was born, and that silence was filled with meaning, love, and endless responsibility. Ethan sat in his enormous office on the top floor, but he didn't see the profit growth charts or the panorama of the awakening city. He saw only a crystal shard of memory, a sunny May day, the bustle of the train station, and the laughter of his little Abigail, who excitedly shook a new key pendant in front of his nose. He remembered covering his sleeping daughter with his jacket in the train car and going out to the vestibule for a couple of minutes. Fatal minutes. A sudden blow to the back of the head. Sharp pain. The chaos of a short, violent fight with 3 thugs, the rumble of wheels, the taste of blood on his teeth, and the last thing he remembered before being thrown from the train at full speed, a void rushing into the darkness. He survived, miraculously, but when he woke up in the hospital, his world was destroyed. Abigail had disappeared, without a trace. Searchers, police, volunteers, all in vain. His wife Beatrice couldn't bear it and left, taking half of his soul with her. Years of despair, an alcoholic haze, falling to the very bottom. And then, salvation. A chance encounter with a group of children from an orphanage on a walk. Their serious, unchildlike eyes made him wake up. He realised that if he couldn't save his own daughter, he could help others. He built an empire, from scratch, not for wealth, but for power. The power to help, to protect, to give hope to those who had it taken away. He married Olivia, a wonderful woman with the same kind heart. They had Leo and Willow. He was happy, but his happiness always had a bitter aftertaste of guilt and an unhealed wound. Every day he lived with a black hole in his heart where Abigail once was. "I want to do a DNA test." Ethan's voice trembled. He sat across from Naomi in his office, and his entire facade of an indestructible businessman, built over the years, crumbled to dust. An icy spasm gripped Naomi's insides. The world narrowed to this office, to the voice of the stranger who spoke words that could either destroy her completely or resurrect her. All her life she had dreamed of finding her relatives, but was afraid to find out that they were marginal people who had abandoned her as unnecessary. And now this powerful rich man, with eyes full of unbearable pain, claimed to be her father. The test result was not just a confirmation, it became a verdict, a key that unlocked the locked door to her past. Meeting her mother, Beatrice, was like a dream. Hugs, tears, recognition at some subconscious cellular level. It seemed that the pain of 26 years of separation dissolved in those tears. Naomi's life turned upside down. From the grey industrial zone, she stepped into a world where she was waited for, where she was loved. She entered a university she hadn't dared to dream of. Maya found not only a grandfather and grandmother, but also an uncle and aunt, a huge house, and noisy family dinners. One evening, Ethan stood on the terrace of his house and watched Naomi and Maya laugh, playing with Leo and Willow on the lawn. His wife, Olivia, came up and silently embraced him. "Were you afraid it was just a coincidence?" she asked quietly. "That she got a job in your company on purpose? That you noticed that pendant?" "It's like a miracle that I'm afraid to believe in until the end," he admitted. "It's not a miracle," Olivia smiled, looking at him with eyes full of love. "It's fate. Sometimes, to find a lost key, you just have to wait for it to find your door." If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. It is very important to us.